So imagine I'm a film producer looking to raise money for my $250,000 film. John or Arde, I need $250,000. I've got this awesome dream project.
I mean, there's a lot you said there that's wrong. I think so.
So I would say, if so, then yeah, he is.
If Dave Portnoy is watching this, by then I'm a big fan.
But he doesn't like Chicago pizza, man.
He does. No, he does.
Does
Banks, can they actually provide money for your film or your YouTube/social media channel growth? Well, the answer may surprise you the way it surprised me. You see, banks actually do look at providing money for projects that they call new media or films. But like JJK, there are levels to it. Today, we sit down with Arde Sahraean, a commercial banker who's worked on close to $200 million of financing deals for new media companies, which include content studios, streaming startups, podcasts, and even mobile game developers. And joining him will be our own resident entertainment finance guru, John Chang. For those of you new, welcome to Entertainment Hot Sauce, where we provide tips and tricks to be able to help you elevate your craft and also your business IQ when it comes to your projects. My name is Rocky Joe. I'm your co-host. I'm a video director and also a content producer who works at one of the major studios. Now, quick note, John's mic actually didn't work during the interview. You'll see him wearing it. It just recorded nothing the whole time. So we wound up using the backup audio for his sound. Appreciate your understanding. Content's still good. We'll do better on the next one. If you do like this video, you can help us by subscribing and also spreading the word and sharing as we're a new channel and help us grow. With that said, let's find out how banks invest in content. You're a commercial banker. What does that mean? Because when I think of banker, I think of obviously people who work at banks and I go meet with them for a loan for a house or a car. But what does it mean in this?
That's technically retail banking.
Retail banking.
Commercial just means it's at the commercial scale. So it's a business that you're actually lending to. And it's a huge world with many umbrellas, but you're making a loan, sizable amount. In new media, I would say anywhere from at the lower end, 5 million, at the upper end, 50 million. And then for film finance, I'll let John speak to that.
Let me ask you one of the big questions that I'm sure a lot of filmmakers wonder. So imagine I'm a film producer looking to raise money for my $250,000 film. Would I go to you? Would I go to either of you and say, John or Arde, I need $250,000. I've got this awesome dream project.
I mean, there's a lot you said there that's wrong. First of all, let's start.
Sounds like you need to call your parents for some angel.
Number one, the number 250,000 will elicit nothing but laughter.
Oh,
because you got to
because it won't be worth their time.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. But in order to tell you why, I have to also tell you the rest of what's ridiculous about that. Okay. First of all, let me dispel one myth here. Okay, a lot of people think like I've got a great script. I've got an amazing.
That's right. My dream script, John. I have a dream script.
This is what happens. Okay. And you got to understand, in the office, we would get packages sometimes that, like physical packages that, like, someone would haul that in and we would just grab it and dump it, literally, put it in the garbage. Okay?
Oh, man.
And it's like a big to-do, like, it's like, we got another one, here we go.
Oh,
right?
Man.
I mean, that happens, right? It happens, you know?
I guess to my short one-sentence contribution, banks take zero risk. And creative risk is in that.
Interesting.
And so
there's an actual useful answer, yes.
Yeah. So unless you have something of tangible value that a bank can advance against, then you have nothing. And in film finance, that would be distribution rights and new media. That might be I have a channel with like 10 million views. Blah blah blah.
Well, new media, you have actual ARs, right? Like
AR, accounts receivable.
Yeah.
So you have actual, invoiced money, right? Okay, so you're lending against that on what's called a borrowing base, right? Which I won't get into what that is, right? Going back to film finance, though. So first of all. No one cares. Okay, no one cares even if you have the right talent. It's like no one cares.
Okay. In terms of the banking world, like not really.
That's right. That's impressive. Kudos. Okay, great. Okay, if you've got something like that, you certainly have something that you could probably take to a producer in the way that we know it, and that is someone who is able to connect that project with the money. Okay, and you need a bond Okay, a bank isn't gonna, if you're talking a single picture finance here, no bank is gonna talk to you unless you've got some kind of relationship with a bond that's gonna be willing to step in and complete this picture and back it. Okay. You also need the contracts. Like, banks are only going to talk on a pre-sale basis.
Right.
You already have the distribution agreement with Netflix or somebody. That's called an MG. Okay, it's a minimum guarantee contract, which basically just says, okay, you complete and deliver, and in accordance with all of the essential elements, to me, this thing by this time, essentially. Then there is a certain amount of money we release to you, but then in the meantime, you have to actually go fill that gap in. You go talk to the bank. The bank provides that money. They take something called an NOA. That money doesn't go to them, it goes to them instead, the bank, right? And then you need a bond that would come in and basically cover the risk of the film perhaps not being completed on time or at all or what. So you need those elements, right? All of that being said, you need lawyers on both sides. Okay, here's something that a lot of
so in short, a bank advancing against Netflix paper, Amazon paper.
Netflix paper, and well, is it Amazon? Well, Netflix paper for sure.
What is new media?
Anything that can be accessed at any time through alternative means other than a legacy media large distributor. So legacy media from a release standpoint, I don't know why, but they used to call it linear TV, which means...
We still do, actually.
Oh, they said, there you go.
Yeah.
It's programmed, it's at a certain hour, and there's a certain release. Whereas new media is essentially the birth of the internet. In a practical sense, that just means streaming apps, podcasts, YouTube channels, or Rumble, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then...
Which also includes mobile gaming as well. A lot of new media actually overlaps with venture capital investing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
what the heck?
does. And the reason for that is because a content creator who knows nobody, has no connections, just thinks they're talented, they can now, through the distribution channel of new media, basically start creating content for free. And of course, if you have budget, you could create better quality content. But as you create that content, the idea isn't really to get rich off that original content you're making. That's kind of like, what do they call it? Like your portfolio and arts or whatnot. And you take that to an actual studio or some established YouTube channel that has the distribution and understands production quality and how to get you out there. But a lot of those companies, this is new media, so it's not tested, and it came with the advent of the internet. And so it's a lot of venture, high risk with the expectation of, we have a new talent, undiscovered, and we have these new channels and a new untapped audience. The growth potential is huge, but the risk is also huge. And so way before any banks get involved, almost every client on the new media side, John's also done more traditional film finance lending, but on the new media side, almost every client we deal with is first backed by a venture capital firm.
Oh, okay. Just so I can summarize, because obviously that's a lot of information. So just so I can sort of summarize what you guys had talked about in terms of what new media is. Even though the internet's been around for, 20 years? 20 some odd years, it's still considered new media because it's not linear. It's not on cable or networks. It's and it's not timed media. It's media that you can watch at any time. And then it's untested because it's still relatively new. And then you're using, I guess, influencers or new talent. And honestly, those talent, they first need to actually work with VC capitalists, and it's the VC capitalists that will then come
they
to...
seed
the production companies.
That we had a big laugh about,
right?
Yeah, so they seed
That's
these
right.
companies. Inside joke.
They seed the production companies.
That's right. We're not necessarily talking production companies here. We're talking these new media
ventures.
There are companies that create these algorithms that study all the content, and then when advertisers want to go buy advertising slots, there's this entire inventory of different content types, how long the videos, what kind of audience. And there are companies that have algorithms that perfectly match up your product type to a channel or a piece of content that is targeting the correct audience. And so if that results in good revenues per impression, which means a few cents per click, then that shows that that middleman is adding value. And so that's the way that, even though it's kind of a tangent, that's the way that those channels or kind of streaming studios, not studio like Warner Brothers, they're smaller, but they are studios in that they are helping actual talent develop better quality content.
But let me go back to your question, because I just want to finish up that. Yeah. I want to talk about why the $250K number.
It's just ridiculous. Going back to the $250,000 dream project that I've come to John with.
Well, there's all these elements in place, okay? Clients, you have a lawyer, the banks will have the lawyer. Clients pay the bank's lawyers' fees, by the way.
Clients pay the bank's lauders' fees.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
it's paid out of the
that's
loan.
standard.
The lawyers always get paid.
That is standard in commercial banking. And we're talking, look, I met people in the independent space who would say, like, oh, I do know a lawyer. Not like these. Okay, not like these guys. Okay.
They're expensive.
We're talking legal costs of like approaching $500,000.
Oh, wow. So for even like a $250,000 project, the legal cost to it
it's just not worth it.
Yeah, it just doesn't even make sense.
It's the punchline, right? Exactly. It's like, by the way, there are fees that they have to pay to the bond provider, right? Mm-hmm. There are fees they have to pay to the bank. They have to, they can draw on whatever loan to pay any kind of fee, and guess what? That's now a balance that's accruing interest. It's a big financial structure, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, you have to be very savvy. You have to understand this stuff. You have to have very capable people on your team and deep relationships. And you have to have the contracts in place already before you can even crack open a conversation about getting a loan from the bank for a picture finance. So, again, kudos to anyone who's got Nicolas Cage or whatever hot talent.
We love Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I mean, that's great stuff, but it's just, that's irrelevant to the conversation when it comes to a financier. Right?
To a bank. I think
to a bank, yeah.
To Cliff Notes that, I would say for any artists out there, the bank is the second point of contact. Your first point of contact would be a studio or an actual production company that wants to take your content on and try to monetize it. Once they could prove your concept out, then a bank might be willing to do something. So basically, artists going directly to banks, I think, is a waste of time, essentially.
So the audience can understand the size of the deals you guys usually work with. Can you give examples of how big we're talking about? You had mentioned Amazon, Netflix. Like, how big of a, like, generally, what's the range that banks will actually start taking interest, will realistically look?
It could be 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe higher $1 billion.
Gotcha.
It really just kind of depends on what kind of project we're talking about here.
And then if that's their budget, how much would you advance? Or is that how much you guys would
I'm
advance?
talking about the advance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what are the budgets like that you guys advanced $50 million?
I don't know. It's like, I'm thinking, without name dropping anything, there was one later season of a popular show somewhere that I think had $120 million budget.
Wow.
You know?
For sure.
Gotcha.
One season.
So, and then Arde, for you, for new media, like, what are the ranges that, you're really looking at for that?
Yeah, I mean, you have to keep in mind, these are companies that have multiple talents, multiple channels. So they've already kind of, to what John spoke to earlier, they've already monetized some of the content, and they have account receivables and large sums that they use to advance against to bootstrap new content they might want to release or support the artist with marketing. So for the deals that were like, on the lower end, probably about 5 million. And I could say that company was, I think I'm allowed to say this, it was a company that bought, if you think I can't say that, bleep that out later.
Just bleep it.
But the interesting story about this channel that featured a certain demographic of people getting into fights and looting, and every time they would do that, they would have to say the name of the channel, and then it would get featured on the channel. They had garnered so many views, but they had monetized it so poorly that another company came along and said, I'm going to buy your company, give you more money than you could hope for. But they have these special algorithms that just know how to claw eyeballs and put the right ads at the right places. And because it's user-generated content, they're actually not spending any money on production. That's kind of one of their things.
It's all marketing.
This particular company specialized in acquiring user-generated content platforms. So they owned about 5 or 6 channels that was all user-generated content. So they didn't have to really do anything to bring eyeballs or spend money. It's just once they had the traffic, they're like, how can we best monetize it? And
but to be clear, like,
and so just to close that point out, that one channel, the monetization like skyrocketed after. So it just shows they were sitting on a gold mine. They didn't know how to mine it, but they knew how to
get eyeballs,
and engagement, and get content for free. But then and as one footnote, if interested, I have one example of a loan we did where we advanced against very high quality investment grade paper, and it still blew up in our face. It's
as in like it went belly up and it.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wait, which one was this? We'll believe it. Which one was this? Which one?
With a
Okay, I'm not sure. Bleep that whole.
Okay, so bleep that.
Bleep that. Okay, bleep that.
I don't know,
but yeah, without saying the name, we advanced. I think we could say we advanced against an investment grade company with.
Okay. Oh, bleep that.
I was trying to do like a non-bleep version, like investment grade, publicly traded.
All right, bleep.
Just put bars.
Restart that thought you were saying.
So it was a show that was created based on a very impressive popular video game franchise, fighting game franchise. They released a trailer, a pilot on YouTube. Nobody, with their own money, they acted in it themselves. That garnered a lot of attention. Then a YouTube channel, I think I can say their name, it's public domain, but I won't. They went and said, hey, we love what you did with this video game franchise. We want a 10-episode series spanning 2 hours as a test. Gave them money, they produced that. That hit 10 million views across all episodes. So then that was a success. And then another investment grade company, telecom company, publicly traded, very loaded with cash, said, whoa, this whole new media space, this is something we don't want to be late on. So they ended up opening a streaming app. They invested a lot in it, but they had a $10 million contract to one specific studio, like these studios that say they understand the business side and then they find the talent.
Yeah.
And God, there was a famous person involved in it. I'm wondering if I could say that. A super famous woman singer who's been super popular for 50 years, or 40 years, let's say. Like the woman version of Michael Jackson. I think I can say that. She was involved.
Got it.
That's the studio that was involved. And they got the contract from this publicly traded company. And they came to us. And we're like, oh my God, 10 million? Oh, you got these guys backing you? Oh, you got this kind of talent? Oh my God, your board includes this person? Done deal. So we advanced 70%. So we gave them like $7 million because they needed the cash to actually build out the content for this publicly traded company that just opened this streaming app. And they released some stuff, but as it was going on, I remember this streaming app was having a hard time garnering enough traffic. And they even took that popular video game fighting franchise streaming show and they ported it onto their streaming app and said it's only available. They tried a few different things basically, and they just couldn't do it. And so they started delaying the shows. And I think when the contract was down to like 4 million, they said, you know what? We're just gonna scrap this whole project.
Oh, interesting.
And they told the studio, whatever our penalty is based on our contract, we'll pay the penalty. And then we got stuck holding a bag of millions of dollars because we thought there was 4 more million coming in. And that loan, until the moment I left that bank, that team, that loan was still in the bad loans department.
Yeah, I remember. I think that's about the time I was joining you. Like
I think
that
it
way,
was.
but,
It almost sounds like a new media deal in some ways. The way you described it just then is almost like a small business loan where they just need to make sure they have enough cash on hand to pay.
well, it's the exact same concept.
Okay.
It's the exact same concept where small businesses, they have to go purchase inventory.
Yeah. But in this case,
idea.
it's just media.
It's the
content.
same idea.
Content is the inventory, or,
Yeah,
or
it's just like the difference there. Small businesses, I don't really do small business, I don't know, but the type of new media stuff we're talking about is heavily scrutinized. There are field exams associated with this. You engage third parties to go and verify ARs. You know,
very professionally run
very
companies.
professional, very structured
And
finance.
the reason being because a lot of them have venture capital firms that seed them or do the early stage
Yeah.
investing, and those guys make sure you have good C-level executives and whatnot, and that's why they're good at monetizing the content.
Because small businesses have to be profitable in order for banks to be attracted to them. We're in not we, but like this is a pre-profit space. Yeah, so these are companies that are not profitable. They're we call them cash burn, okay, which means that they've got millions of dollars of negative income at the end of the day, okay. And so, like, it has to be something that is continually attractive to investors. And the investors we talk to, and just we have to hear it from them. It's like, yeah, we're in this company for the long haul. We're looking at top line growth. We're not looking for profitability.
It's sounding like the way banks get involved, it's very similar like startups, where
It is startups.
you don't just get 4 of your friends together in a garage, make a YouTube channel, and then be like, bank, we need money. It's more like we go find VCs. The VCs make sure it's properly set up.
It's 100% what it is.
That's exactly what you said.
What are some examples of the top leaders in the new media, or not even top leaders, just leaders in the new media space, just so people can wrap their heads around? Let's say Mr. Beast, Logan Paul. Are those even considered?
Those are just
new
talent.
media?
Those are just talent. We're not
They're
talking about that.
influencers.
Those are celebrities.
Those are but even their companies that they run, they wouldn't be.
Do they? I
considered.
don't think they run companies. They probably.
I mean, they're the face of their companies, right? So.
Well, we've banked companies that would represent the top talents you would see on YouTube.
Gotcha.
Those people are just people, but they're being repped by some new media firm.
Oh,
that
okay.
It would, first of all, rep them, get them on various platforms, monetize them, add some value in that way. Spin them off into merch, right? Help them do that. Basically, manage them, right? And so that's where we come in. That's what we see.
Would you consider Barstool to be a new media company, or just?
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Podcasting,
Yeah,
video.
he had an app for like pizza.
Yeah. In that case,
that's a great example.
That guy, I don't know anything about the structure of Barstool.
Right, that's the thing.
But that guy.
But it seems like he runs his own
I think
thing.
so.
So I would say, if so, then yeah, he is.
If Dave Portnoy's watching this, by the way, I'm a big fan.
But he doesn't like Chicago pizza, man.
He does. No, he does. He just is not his thing.
He doesn't care that much about takeout pizza. But anyway, but in that case, like that's a guy who is also an influencer, right? But he also just wants to run his own thing. I think.